Afternoon, YouTube. Fortress Rodimus signing back on. Just here to talk to you about what's on my mind. Today, what's on my mind is reboots. You ask, well, there's been tons of them. How'd you get that on your mind? Well, it kind of came from reading the Power of X series. I kind of talked about that last time in my video on deaths. And so starting from there, I just was like, man, there's been so many. I mean, I can't go through all of them, but I'm going to kind of tell you my thoughts on them, which ones they were, and then, I want to know what your thoughts are. So subscribe and like the video, and here we go. So we're going to start off with DC. I'm not a huge DC fan. I do enjoy their stories. I do follow them sometimes, but we had, beginning in 1986, we had the Crisis on Infinite Earths. This was the idea that they had so many multiverse in stories, they weren't really sure what to do. And so they had this whole story arc and basically destroyed them all, went down to one, put them all together. And that went for a good long while. They started bringing the multiverse back into it during this years. I mean, 1986, that's a long time. So there's some soft reboots in there and stuff like this, but that was the main one. And then in 2011 we had Flashpoint, and that, I loved the story. Don't get me wrong, it's an amazing story. And Flash goes to, if I remember correctly, save his mom, and he does that, and a whole new timeline goes by. I mean, we have just a really good story of everything that goes happen. I mean, characters go crazy in the storyline. I mean, the biggest thing I could think of is Tom Wayne is Batman and his wife is Joker. Like, I mean, that was a crazy story. Batman uses guns, and because Bruce died, I mean, it's this whole thing. I mean, we had Wonder Woman versus Aquaman, big old fight scene, pretty crazy. But when that ended, it brought us to the New 52. That was an entire reboot of the DC universe. Everything stopped and everything was rewritten. And so that's kind of how it worked at that point. And it was not well accepted. The story and how they moved it and what they did with it was not well accepted at all. And so in 2006, we had Rebirth. And we had the beginning of a new DC story. They were trying to bring it back to the old universe. So in the New 52, Wally West was gone. We didn't have Wally West. He died. And in the Rebirth, is him kind of bringing things back. And now, if I understand everything correctly, we had the Watchmen Doomsday series, which was what's his name from Watchmen? Or the blue guy, Dr. Manhattan. Okay, Dr. Manhattan basically went and rewrote and took Wally West out and did this and that, and now they're getting things back. People are getting their memories back. They combined both Clark Kents from the 52 and the original. I mean, it's good. It's what's brought us back to normal. So that's where we are in the present. And that's where we're at. We're going to take a quick break and be right back. And we're back. I had to go and take care of a shopping list for Walmart. So having tacos tonight. Enjoy those. Love them. But all right, we're back. So reboots. Then we went on to Marvel. Okay, the first one I can remember really as a kid as Marvel was Onslaught. So we had the Onslaught series, who was actually Professor Xavier. And I mean, Onslaught was a weird story, but in that story, we had at the end, we had heroes die. They were gone. They were missing. They actually we had the Heroes Reborn storyline. Okay, and in that, Franklin Richards sent heroes that were there at Onslaught to a basically alternate dimension. And it rebooted all these heroes. It was an idea to bring these heroes kind of back up into the normal idea for these new kids. But they were rebooted. I mean, we had Captain America, Iron Man, the Fantastic Four, Thor, and the Avengers series. All rebooted, all brought back kind of differently. I mean, I remember I read the whole Captain America storyline. Bucky ended up being a girl. In this time and age, I mean, it was interesting, but it was not at all well received. I mean, I think it went from 1996 to 97, so it lasted a year. I think there were 12 issues. That's not including the 4-part miniseries and the 4-part ending series, kind of bookend it. So we had Heroes Reborn, and then it was called Heroes Return, and they basically figured out they were in the wrong place, and they had to come back. The next reboot that I really can think of from Marvel was the Power of X, House of X series. This is the second time mentioning it in 2 videos, mainly because it's new, and again, I'll have to do another video on it. I'm not sure what I think of the series, but in it, Moria Matagra, I can never say that name correctly. I can't, no matter how much I try. We end up learning she's a mutant, and she dies, and then she goes back, and she knows everything that she died and came back with, and lives her life and changes everything that happens. Okay, so in that, it's now rebooted. I mean, I'm kind of confused. Really, I'm not gonna lie on how it worked, but it's kind of brought the X-Men to a new starting point, and all the stories are starting from this point and going on. Kind of ixnayed everything that happened. I'm not really sure how that works, because if all this over here stops happening so that we get all this over here, then what happens to the rest of the universe? You know, the stories that happened with the X-Men, and I'm not sure. My brain actually really was very confused. But those are the ones that Marvel really had. They've done some soft reboots again, renumbering stuff. There's one a little while ago where they tried to kind of ixnay the heroes and bring different heroes in for them to kind of rechange them. You had Ironheart in there taking over Iron Man. You had, what's her name? Jane Foster taking over Thor. I mean, it was a weird area. And then we have Transformers. Transformers reboots are a little different. We had Marvel start with Transformers, and they went through their whole series. Then it ended at issue 80, back a long time ago, and then Dreamwave picked that up. Well, that was an interesting run. They had their Generation 1, and then they had their Dark, what did they call it? I don't even remember now. But then they had their Cybertron Wars. But they had issues with going bankrupt and paying artists, and all their stories kind of went, just put it out. Then we had IDW pick them up. All right, well, IDW went for a very long time on Transformers, and I actually have pretty much all of IDW's G1 run, whether it is in the paperback form or digital, because I can get them a little cheaper, and all the way up to the end when Unicron comes and destroys it all. So they've just rebooted and started from the beginning for a whole new generation, and kind of seeing where it goes and what happens. And that is it. So those are kind of the reboots that I can think of. I know there's been more. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think of reboots. Let me know what you think of renumbering and restarting comics and characters in kind of that whole idea. Subscribe to my channel, like it, and again, talk in the comments. Let me know. YouTube, this is Fortress Rodimus signing off, and I'll talk to you later.